The Beauty was a comic released back in 2015, and it starts off well, introducing us to a sexually transmitted disease known as the Beauty, a disease that enhances the features of human beings it infects and turns them into stunning versions of themselves. The corporation that essentially designed the Beauty, and the detectives who investigate a series of unusual deaths that kill beauties. The book is a nice science fiction horror tale that has our investigators uncover a plot that involves government cover ups, extremist groups, rich billionaires manipulating people, the works. It's a fun comic that unfortunately turned into a sort of anthology series of sorts by the time Volume 6 came out. I stopped liking it because the premise I perceived the comic made in Volume 1 of following these two detectives, their lives, and the beauty, that went all up in the air with Volume 2, where characters from Volume 1 were absent. I soldiered on. I read through Volumes 3, 4, 5, and 6, but it never felt quite the same as reading that first volume. The TV show, however, deviates quite a bit from everything the comics does, and I'm uncertain how I feel about it. On the one hand, the changes the show made were better, I think. If they'd retained most of what they did in the comics, I don't think the show would have worked. So the changes they made, they're good. But they also retained some elements from the book, elements I didn't like telling stories not tied to the main plot. The tale of the two lab techs who stole the beauty serum and turned into beauties, the police commissioner, his wife, and his daughter who took the serum, the tale of the girl who takes the serum and turns into this hideous monstrosity. All these are superfluous. They're not necessary for the plot. The story would have been just fine without these deviations. And these deviations, they distract you from what the story is trying to tell you. And because of this, the end of the series feels unresolved. You get to the end of the series and you're left feeling unsatisfied. When I finished watching episode 11, I instinctively looked for the next episode, even though I knew there were no more episodes left. They waste so much time on fluff throughout the season that they don't get enough time to actually resolve the main storyline. Look, I try to stay away from celebrity news as much as possible, but some of it bleeds into my life. The news of Ashton Kutcher, for example, even though I'm not fully aware of what's happened and I really don't want to know more, it seems he's not a very nice human being, and him being a turd in real life has bled into this show. I disliked him. I disliked Ashton Kutcher a lot in his role as Byron Frost. While I didn't really buy him as the richest man on the planet who just wants to make more and more money, I did think of him as an a-hole, so yeah, he works in the role. Although I think Vincent D'Onofrio played a much better Byron Frost than Ashton Kutcher did. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio is great in almost anything he does. Towards the end, though, Byron starts acting wildly out of character. First, he sends people to kill Antonio, his hitman. I don't know what possible reason he could have for wanting his hitman dead, other than the plot, of course, requiring the two of them to end up on opposite sides, which is just bad writing. It's terrible writing. Next, he suddenly turns remorseful. He turns good by the end of the season, wanting to reverse everything he's done throughout the series because his wife killed herself. That's wild. He's such a bad guy throughout the series, killing people, rich people, poor people, indiscriminately, and generally being a real dick. And he doesn't even love his wife. We got no indication that there was ever any love in this man, but he suddenly goes and makes this U-turn, undoing everything he's done throughout the series, giving back all the money he's made, shutting down the beauty. It's a little hard to take in. I know it makes the whole series more interesting when you have to reevaluate the antagonist's motivation, the motivation we've been shown throughout the series, but it just looks like bad writing to me. Stylistically, this show reminds me quite a bit of the American Horror Story, which Ryan Murphy made both this series and that one, so it's understandable. I don't know if I like the fact that they look the same, but I don't think the visuals of this show distracted me from the story in any way. Although I might have preferred it if they didn't use the same style for the beauty, because essentially this just feels like another season of the American Horror Show, and I'm not sure if I like that. Look, I've trashed this show quite a lot throughout this video, but I also like the show. I like some of the stuff it did. I like that the show deviates from the comics, just the right amount to deliver something that's interesting in TV. I like the actors. I liked almost all of them. I like the ominous tone the show takes. I like most of how the story played out. I liked enough about it to maybe watch the next season. And I think that's where we're going to end this video. Bye bye.